Our next coach this morning is the head coach of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, Coach Joe Moglia. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Mark. I had you on mute. I apologize.
It's all right. No, I appreciate that. First off, good morning to you. Congratulations on the victory at Furman, another nail-biter with the Paladins. Good news yesterday, Chanticleers, #1 team in the nation in the FCS coaches poll. Heading back on the road Saturday at South Carolina State. So we'll go in order. Let's talk about the victory over Furman, and then we'll start taking questions and talk about everything else.
It's going to be interesting for us to see what kind of team Furman really has this year. I think from offensively, their quarterback Hannon, I think, is really very good. I remember my first year here, we had knocked their first-string quarterback out of the game, and his freshman comes onto the field, and it was the second game of the season, and we're up by about 10 or 12 or something, and I'm thinking, we probably should be okay. The kid in the fourth quarter was 24 for 30 with 4 touchdowns. Now, that included 3 overtimes. So that was pretty good for a freshman. Last year, he had broken his ankle or something the first game of the season. He missed the entire season. This kid's a very, very good quarterback. They do a good job running the ball. We didn't do. I was a little disappointed. I'm hoping that our defense is going to be much improved this year. We didn't do nearly the job that I would have hoped we did, but the good side of that was I do think most of the things that we did poorly, I think we can fix. Offensively, we had a good game. We did a good job mixing up run and pass. D'Angelo Hop had a very good game. Alex had a good game. The offensive line wound up doing well. That was a little bit of a test and concern to me because we had new guys there. I thought they wound up doing well. They did a good job picking up blitzes. I was pleased with our special team, with the exception of the performance of our punter. He's capable. I think he's a freshman. It was his first game. He's a pretty good athlete, and he's a good punter. But I think maybe he had his first game jitters, and he's got to do better than what he did the other day. But across the board, I was really pleased with the offense. I was pretty pleased with our special teams, and a little bit disappointed in the defense, but hopefully we're going to be able to improve upon that. But I think they have a pretty good offensive team.
All right, Coach, thanks very much. At this time, we'll start taking questions for you. Please press *1 on the phone at any time, or click the Q&A link near the top of your browser. Click raise hand, and as the questions come in, if you can talk first briefly about the news when you were that you heard yesterday that Coastal moved up to #1 in the coaches poll. How is it different from last year when you got the ranking towards the end of the season? And then we'll talk about South Carolina State.
I think that I don't normally look at my phone much during the span of the day, so there was literally a break around lunch where I thought I would check my messages, and I had about a dozen congratulations, and I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. And then somebody said being #1, and I didn't realize we had been #1, and then I realized that was the case. And I think, what I'm going to tell our team today and what I told our staff is that, #1, guys, we all know that, the top 10 teams in the FCS poll didn't have good first weeks. So a part of that was just the other guys didn't do so well, and we happened to win. So that was part of that. So I think last year, later on in the season, we had already proven ourselves by having a pretty good season so far. So we were already like 9-0. We had 9 games under our belt. 1-0, 1 game under your belt, that doesn't mean anything. But last year, I think, it was the last third of the season where that happened. So I think it had much more substance. I think we probably deserved it a little bit more. But the other side of it, and just, I've got guys on our staff, you add up all our experience, there's a lot of experience there. And how many times do you have the opportunity as a coach in your entire career to be part of a team that's #1 team in the country? I know that's not the same thing as winning a national championship, but I don't make a big deal about any of the honors. I don't make a big deal about the rankings, but there's kind of something special about that happening. And that's something I told our guys we should be proud of. Now, having said that, of course, we need to demonstrate that we deserve that. And the only way we're going to do that is by doing a good job on a weekly basis. But it is something to be proud about, and that's the way I feel. I think that's the way our guys feel. But we know it means nothing in terms of going forward. We know that that's totally irrelevant. But it's certainly, I think, for the time being, it's certainly an honor.
Well, you segue perfectly into this week's opponent, South Carolina State. So talk about your opponent this week.
They had a very, very good opening game, which was yesterday. So we didn't get which was Sunday. So we didn't really get the film till early Monday. And but they dominated the game on Sunday. They were able to both run the ball and pass the ball. Simmons is one of their running backs. He's from a year ago. He's really pretty effective. Kellogg, their quarterback. He's a good athlete. He can run the ball. He's not a great passer, but he's much improved as a passer from where he was a year ago. They've got a couple of receivers that can really, really run, and they have three offensive linemen that are back, and two of them are supposed to be pro prospects. From a defensive perspective, they'll mix things up on you. They'll try to disguise stuff. They'll show you some man and some zone. They've got some pretty good athletes. They have a preseason All-American pick in this kid Hargrove as a defensive end. He was very effective. He was tough against us a year ago. We didn't do a good job protecting our quarterback a year ago. He got sacked 4 times, and that doesn't normally happen to us. So we got to worry about that kid, and we got to worry about their ability to mix things up. And we've got good athletes, and certainly they were able to move the ball. So they've always been pretty good in terms of special teams. But again, we can't worry too much about those things. We kind of got to worry about what we can do.
All right, Coach, thanks very much. This time we'll move to questions for you. Our first question is from Damian Sordelette of the Lynchburg News and Advance. Go ahead, Damian.
Good morning, Joe. How are you?
Good morning.
I was going to ask about the number 1 ranking. Your players had the bullseye on them last year, late in the season. When you get to a part where you are a number 1 team and you get the bullseye that every team's going to give you their best shot, does having that experience of being a number 1 team in the past really help the kids that they understand the significance of what teams are going to bring every week and that they need to play their best in order to beat those teams that are going to come out and play at their best or to upset the number 1 team in the country?
Damien, I think the answer to that is yes. I think having gone through that a year ago, I think that's part of it, and kind of the bullseye on your back. But we don't spend too much time talking about that, and the reason for that is this. We begin as a staff, and our players know this as well. We assume that the assumption we make is that every staff we're going to play against is always going to be sound and thoughtful and smart when it comes to putting together a game plan. And we assume they're also going to be good teachers. The other thing we assume is that the opponents we play are going to be a little bit better than us, even if they're not. We assume they're going to be a little bit better than us. So as we prepare our kids for an upcoming opponent, we're assuming that our opponent is going to give us 100% no matter what. If we're undefeated or we lost every game up until that point, we're assuming we're going to give their best. Now, if the coach, in motivating his guys, makes a big deal about we're playing the number 1 team in the country, it goes, well, all that's kind of well and good, but I can't do anything about that. Frankly, I don't really care what they talk about because that's sort of irrelevant to me. And when I coached the first time around, I used to put everything up on the wall, and I'd make a big deal about that. But at the end of the day, it's kind of your guys got to be prepared to play. Your coaches got to be prepared to make sure that you're not asking them to do things that really sounds good on the board, but it's not particularly practical on the field. So even though that number 1 thing exists, and I have no doubt other teams will use that, it's a little bit irrelevant to us in terms of our preparation. We're assuming that you're going to come after us as best you possibly can, no matter what our record is, and we know we got to give it our very, very best and be well prepared. The ranking is sort of a coincidence.
And Coach, with with South Carolina State coming up, you guys have the task you had against Furman. They've always given you a very tough matchup. Does playing a game like that, a very tight game, a very hotly contested game, help build the team early in the year so that way you guys have that grit and determination and end of game situations that you can build on, as especially when you face, you know, a strong team like South Carolina State, and then moving forward?
I think it does help. I think I think that does make a difference. If you're kind of controlling the game, you learn from that. Hopefully, you're executing well, and it's a good W, and it's nice to have some of those games. If you get blown out yourself once in a while, hopefully they're a learning experience. But I think the real test of the character are the ones that go down to the wire, and that then every mistake, it gets magnified. Every really good play gets magnified. Everything matters a little bit more. If you're behind by 20 in the fourth quarter, or if you're ahead by 20 in the fourth quarter, it doesn't matter as much. And good plays or mistakes that you made prior to that, quite frankly, don't matter as much. But when a game is tight and the game can still go either way with 3 or 4 minutes to go, there's a lot more pressure on the staff. There's a lot more pressure on your players. And I do think that's good for them to go through. I do think that makes you a better team.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Damian.
Thanks, Damian. And Coach, just waiting to see if there's any more questions for you in the queue. I'm not seeing any, but I want to make one last call in case someone has entered and I can't see them on my screen. Final questions for Coastal Carolina head coach Joe Moglia.
Anybody got a joke?
Well, look, I don't think we want to take up any more of your time, Coach, so we'll go ahead and let you go. But thanks for joining us, and good luck Saturday at South Carolina State.
Thank you, Mark.
All right.